What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and we're back again to talk about Battlefield 6. Moved channels, but still same game, but now different issue. So yesterday, we talk about these rumors that's starting to come out for Battlefield 6 of, hey, EA wants 100 million players, and turns out that report was bigger than just the tweets that I saw, which is not shocking. But so I want to give credit where credit's due, but there was more to those rumors, and what I want to talk about in this video is that single-player campaign. And I'll say this, though, to kind of pat myself on the back. Yesterday's video, I had talked about, all of these different teams that are working on these different elements of Battlefield, and I had said, all it takes is for one to fall behind, and the whole thing is screwed, right? And the odds of one team falling behind are quite high. How about multiple? Well, turns out I was very much on the right track, because the rumor here, again, from that Ars Technica and reported on Insider Gaming, is two things. Number one, that the campaign for Battlefield 6 is only going to be 6 hours or less, because this is a studio and it's the only one that has fallen behind in terms of making these benchmarks, which, we know game development wise, right? They set these kind of benchmarks every so often. You have to pass through them. It's the one that has not done it, that is falling behind. And they say, bearing like a day one patch, or maybe releasing the game and then releasing the single player afterwards, like, they could do that. If they don't do that, this is going to be a problem, because they say the single-player campaign is having issues. There's already stuff that sounds like it's been cut, and because of the problems they're facing, they actually are considering cutting even more. So there's number one thing to talk about, which is, how do you feel if I were to pitch you a 6-hour Battlefield campaign? That's rough. That's a rough one, because it's like, here's the thing. Got to say a couple things. Like, I would prefer that 8 to 10 hour range. Okay, that's just number one. You could say, all right, well, 6 is not that much lower than 8 to 10, and I would agree with you. And I also think I got to stand on my morals that it's quality over quantity, okay? 6 hours of just the greatest Battlefield campaign you can imagine is better than 8 to 10 hours of a mediocre Battlefield campaign, okay? I would agree with that. But you think about, like, Battlefield Bad Company 2, which is probably the best one, right, campaign, or even there was some, like, in the 3-4 era. They managed to kind of do both. Like, they could be a little bit meaty, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, and they could be extremely good. So it's like, we can get into an arguing contest of, oh, I want 6, oh, you want 8. Technically, we could kind of have it both ways, or it could be 6, 7, 8 hours long, and it can just be good. Can we actually have both of those things? That it's so rare nowadays, is it not? But that is one element. I just saw, yesterday a couple comments talking about it, where it's like, yeah, that people want a pretty meaty Battlefield, even on my own stuff. And I mean, I'm not a big Battlefield creator, and I don't have a big Battlefield community, I think, here. But just what I see in my own community is, yeah, it better be like not just a really good one, but it better be a really like meaty kind of campaign in general. So sorry about that, because by the way, it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen right now. And that's what's worrying. If this rumor is true, is like what you're looking at is kind of, we've already boxed ourselves in. They've already boxed themselves in, where it's like, all right, at best, it's a 6-hour thing. And God knows the quality of that 6 hours, right? 6-hour thing. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is you still get that 6 hours, but it actually comes after the base game. So the base game launches with the multiplayer and the Battle Royale, and then the single player is put in 4 or 5 months later. That's rough. That is a weird way of doing it that only games like Battlefield or Call of Duty could, I think, really get away with. So you could have that. You could have this massive day one patch, where if you don't do that day one patch, or maybe you do and the game is just a broken mess. Remember, I said that yesterday too. The thing is, you can't afford that. When these things come out, they've got to be functioning at 100% power, right? So honestly, in that way, I actually would prefer choice A. Delay it. If you don't want to delay Battlefield as a whole game, whatever, but you need to delay the parts that are not going to be acceptable, because that will be unacceptable if you don't do that, okay? And then I guess you have choice C, which is reduce the campaign even further. And it's like, here's the thing. When you reduce the campaign further, right, number one, I think you're just going to make it worse overall, right? Because like the flow, I don't think would necessarily be there. Number two, just in my opinion, I don't know if this is exactly how it works. When I think about things getting cut, I oftentimes think of those things being some of the cooler elements, right? Wouldn't you cut something that is so kind of ambitious that it would take time? Isn't that kind of the point, right? Okay, this is taking too much time. Well, why is it taking too much time? Well, we really want to have this set piece, or there's this really cool dynamic thing that happens in this mission. Maybe it doesn't happen in the other missions, but, it's what makes this mission special, but it's taken us a long time. We're trying to figure it out. We can't can't get it to work. Okay, cut it. You know what I mean? So, and that's just the way I'm saying it. Maybe I'm talking myself into that, but the way I think about it is like, okay, cut content in that way is probably some of the better stuff in the game. And so choice C is you lose hours. So now the campaign is 4 or 5 hours, and you lose maybe some of the better parts of it. And it's like, again, and here's the thing. And I guess I'm kind of almost missing the overall point that I want to nail it right now before I forget. Like, people want a campaign, at least some people. And I think I said this yesterday, but this really comes along with what we just talked about, where, like, if you're going to do it and it's going to come out, it needs to be done at full force, right? I don't just mean the bugs and glitches. I actually mean the quality too. And that's something maybe I talk through too quickly, but I do actually mean that. Like, here's the thing. If you're going to do a single player campaign, you do it. It's like, don't even bother, because remember the big pitch with this game was, as we've said, all of these studios. We're going to have all of these studios and all this help, and they're all going to do kind of their own thing, which is going to make this ultimate Battlefield experience. Okay, you talk it up and you have such a interesting plan that probably is a good plan. It's like, okay, if you're going to do it, right? If you're going to release a campaign, don't release a 4-hour mediocre campaign, right? Honestly, don't release it at all then. We've had Battlefield games most recently that don't have a campaign, and that didn't help it. But I mean, okay, well, would you prefer no campaign in 2042 or a mediocre one? I mean, it's tough to judge, granted. Like, I don't actually mean this as a serious question, but would you rather have that or, a 4-hour bad campaign in Battlefield 6? And the answer, it's a trick question. The answer is neither. The answer is, if you're going to do a campaign, do it. Go for it, right? Because you only really have this one chance to do it anyway. So if you're going to do it, do it. And that's what makes me mad about the situation, where it's like, and that's why I say we shouldn't necessarily have to argue of like, well, I want 6 hours and good quality. If you want 9 hours, you might not get good quality. Can't we meet in the middle and just say, let's just have a good quality campaign, right? And that's kind of the point there, where it's like, we shouldn't even be arguing. It shouldn't even be a thing. Just give us a good campaign. I don't care the length. Just give us a good campaign. And if you're talking about cutting it back, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. So we'll see. I imagine, my gut feeling is that game would come out, campaign comes out later. That's what I'm thinking right now based off those rumors. And that's if the rumors are true, granted, but that would be my prediction right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.